Are you prepared to sell your home and now you have to pick an agent? In this video, I'm going to share exactly what you need to do to pick an agent you won't regret. I'm Will Joseph, top producing agent, real estate investor, and strategist. I work with institutional investors, high-profile actors and celebrities, as well as first-time home buyers and sellers. I've sold hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate, and I've worked with both buyers and sellers. In this channel, I'm providing the tips and tools that I've used for my clients to generate literally millions of dollars in real estate wealth. Okay, so here it is. You've decided to sell your property, your home, your investment property, whatever it is. You've made the decision to sell that asset or trade it into something else. And now you're faced with the decision of who do we use? Who do we use to sell our property? Maybe you're faced with deciding, do we use the agent we used before? Maybe you have a family member or friend that's newly licensed. Or maybe you're faced with trying to decide on whether or not to use a top agent in town. The most important thing is that you look at at selling your property the same way you would selling any other type of asset, stock, CD, bond, what have you. Remember, while this may be your personal home, this is also a large portion of your personal wealth. So when you decide to sell your home, you need to depersonalize the decision-making process and pick the right person to sell your home. Maybe it's a team, maybe it's an individual, it doesn't matter. You need to find someone who is going to represent the sale of this property. So who is that person? How do we decide how to find that person or that team? The point is simple. You need to start with making sure that whoever you use, that there's relevance to the type of asset that you own. If you own a house, a duplex, a condo, you need to make sure that the agent or agent team you go with has experience both within your market and within that type of home. Some agents specialize in condos, some specialize in single family residences, some specialize in multifamily. You need to make sure that whoever you use has experience not only within your neighborhood, within your market, but also selling that type of home. You do not want someone who is going to take their first shot, who has no experience, and have them test out their abilities to sell, to market, to negotiate on your asset. So that is rule number one. Rule number two, you need to interview multiple agents. Do not stick with just somebody because you heard they're good. You interview as many people as you can, interview as many teams as you can, and try to determine who has a plan, who has the experience, who has the interest, and who has the desire to negotiate on your behalf. Make sure that agent listens. Make sure they understand what's important to you. Make sure they understand what your privacy requirements are. Sometimes agents will leak too much information in terms of why you're selling. You need someone who is going to manage the sale of your property with a white glove service and is going to listen to you in terms of everything that you need in the sale of this property. Also, when evaluating an agent, you need to try to quickly determine, are they going to be the point person on the sale of the property? Are they going to be running the open houses, the brokers open? Or will they be passing this off to an assistant? Is the agent going to be putting their number on the sign? Or are they putting an 800 line? Oftentimes with some of these larger teams, they just put an 800 line and they're not fielding the calls directly. You want, in the sale of your property, someone to have a direct line to your agent so that your agent understands when the offers are coming in, answering questions when they arise. Remember, the first week to 2 weeks is game time for getting a premium for your property. And if that agent is not receiving and fielding phone calls, then you could lose value just as a result of that agent not being present. On that same note, you want to make sure that the agent is not stretched. Sometimes even agent teams have so many listings, and right now we have so much inventory that certain agents don't have the bandwidth. They might have the desire, but do they have enough cycles to or do they have enough time to help dedicate to selling your property? Remember, missing one phone call is all that it could take. And sometimes with these larger teams, even they do a tremendous amount of volume, if they're not taking the calls directly, then you're not receiving the attention that you need. Also, does your agent have a plan? In other words, do they know when, do they understand the timing? Do they understand when to put the property on the market? Do they understand what the value is on your property? Can they tell you the pricing on where you need to price the home? Do they understand inventory that's coming to market and where they'll be competitive? Your agent should be an expert in this area, and your agent should tell you and advise you on all of those points. Your agent should also, at the same time, talk to you about what their marketing plan is. What do they pay for? Otherwise, if they're not just going to put it on the market, you could do this yourself. So your agent has to share with you, what is the value add? What are they doing beyond what you could already do? It's very important for you to sit down with each of these agents and for them to basically walk you through their marketing plan. They should also provide you case studies on properties they sold and similar marketing plans that they have put in place that have been successful. Additionally, you should also ask for references to make sure that you can speak to people who've used them before in the past. Another thing I want to mention is sometimes people end up using a family member or a friend. Sometimes that family member or friend, they feel guilty not using them in fear they may lose or damage that relationship. Remember, this is business, and this could be in some cases all that you own. Another thing I want to mention on the subject of using family members and friends. This is a very touchy subject, and in some cases could hurt or damage a relationship. That said, you need to weigh the trade-off between whether or not that family member or friend will defend your value, and will they give it the same amount of attention that they would any other professional relationship. One of the nice parts about having an agent that you have only a professional relationship with is they don't have that comfort level. They're not going to let anything fall between the cracks simply because they don't want to lose the relationship. Without a personal relationship, or rather with just solely a professional relationship, there's a greater likelihood that they can be fired. Sometimes family members and friends don't feel the same sense of urgency or pressure that they would another client. So it's very important that if you are going to use a family member or friend, that they understand the conditions that you have to sell the home and what you're expecting of them. Where you want them to be in terms of open houses, how much exposure, how much are you expecting them to put into marketing. You need to sit down with them and talk about what your conditions are with negotiating. Also, one of the downsides to using a family member or friend is the exposure to personal finances. Sometimes in real estate, agents see quite a bit. Sometimes when you are selling a property or even buying a property, those agents are exposed to your personal finances. And sometimes family members and friends, you don't want that information shared. So in that case, you need to weigh the benefit or downside to using someone that you're close with. So this is a big decision. No matter which way you slice it, you need to make a decision on who to pick as an agent based on who is going to deliver the optimum value, and also who is going to negotiate on behalf of your interests. Remember, an agent is a representative. It's someone who stands up for both the asset as well as your interests as sellers. So when you decide to pick an agent, you're picking a representative for both the property and your interests as sellers. So going forward, make sure that that person has the competency, the skill set, the background, the experience, and the desire to represent you and your property. I'm Will Joseph. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Or if you have any questions, leave it in the comments section below. And stay tuned for more videos that I'll be publishing on my top real estate buying and selling strategies.